Once upon a time, in the rolling hills of the French countryside of Gascony, atop the tallest hill, sat the Chateau de Caseneuve. There lived a lonely mother, a widow, with flowing copper-red hair and milk-white skin. She lived only for her little daughter, who mirrored her with fox-red ringlets and crystal-blue eyes. They loved to weave words, and every afternoon when the sun was highest in the sky, the little girl would collect new words from her mother and treasure them like pretty precious stones. Some words sounded dangerous.
Sorceress. Sorceress.
And some words seemed to shine.
Crystal. Crystal. Thank you, Madeline. This, my love, is a magical box. Open it up, but take care not to look inside. Now we close our eyes. Now open your hands. And now your eyes. That is a goose feather. A magical goose feather. And this magical box is my writing box. I give it to you, Charlotte Rose.
But the most precious time of all was just as the sun was beginning to set, when the mother would light the old glass lantern by her little girl's bed, and Charlotte Rose would choose the subject of that night's story.
Tonight, tell me a tale about a cruel baron holding a young maiden captive in a tower.
What a delicious idea for a tale.
And then, drawing Charlotte Rose close within a circle of golden lamplight, her mother would conjure the tale. Like a warm, enchanted wind, it would wrap around the two and fill Charlotte Rose's imagination with colors and dreams and visions. Until one night,
Madame, Madeline, the mother's maid, had brought most troubling news. The Marquis de Malvier, accompanied by 4 of the king's dragonauts, had arrived with an order from the king.
Put Charlotte Rose to bed.
Mama! Charlotte Rose, please, you must stay and eat the fruit. Charlotte Rose ran down the corridor and on towards the chateau's great hall. Charlotte Rose! The sight of her mother, surrounded by soldiers, made Charlotte Rose pause.
Madame, at the order of His Most Christian Majesty, you are to be converted to the one true faith. You will be incarcerated in the convent of a Notciard.
Let me see the order of the king. But my daughter.
The king, in his infinite wisdom and mercy, has appointed your daughter ward of the court and me, her guardian. You need have no concern for her safety. My orders are that you must leave immediately. There is no need to pack. Nuns are not permitted any personal belongings.
Charlotte Rose, your mother needs to tell you a story, and she needs you to remember it, always.
what's wrong, Mama?
Once there was a copper-haired baby girl. Her mother loved her very much, but couldn't care for her.
Madame.
So one evening, she took her baby girl in her arms, ran to her neighbor's doorstep, kissed her babe on the forehead, and left her there on the stoop.
Madame, we do not have time for this.
The mother knew that the woman who lived there would take great care of her daughter.
Gentlemen!
This is not the end of my tale, Charlotte Rose. I give it to you to finish. It's yours to finish. I am Madame Marguerite de la Force, the Baronne de Cazeneuve, daughter to the Marshal of France, widow to the Marquis de Castelmoron, and second cousin to the King himself. Remove your hand, sir. I shall leave my estate with dignity.
It was the last time Charlotte Rose would ever see her mother.
The Teller's Tales, Part 1.
Mademoiselle, come.
Oh, the true tale of Charlotte Rose de la Force.
I am the Marquis de Maulevrier. In 6 short years, on your 16th birthday, you'll be taken from this provincial backwater to become a lady within His Majesty's Royal Court of Versailles. I will oversee your training in court etiquette. A lady of His Majesty's Royal Court doesn't fumble. A lady of His Majesty's Royal Court doesn't act like a Gascony peasant. She is graceful, she is mild, and she is meek, swift, and yet slow to speak. The girl has no dowry. She is the daughter of a Huguenot radical, and, most troubling of all, her looks are très ordinaire. You have a lot of work to do.
Charlotte Rose, I think that we should learn how to do this together. We have to learn how to stand like a maid of honor, how to breathe like a maid of honor, and how to curtsy like a maid of honor. Now, go fetch me your favorite storybook. Go on. Now, put the book on top of my head. But it's a storybook. I know perfectly well it's a storybook. For you see, my little cabbage, it's the magic of the storybook that allows us to curtsy like a maid of honor. Now you.
Curtsy like a maid of honor.
Good.
6 summers passed, and Charlotte Rose's fox-red ringlets grew into flowing copper-red hair. Day by day, she practiced her royal curtsy with Madeline. And, as sweet reward, Madeline would allow her to write. The day of her 16th birthday arrived.
Charlotte Rose, arms. Out. What is this? Ow, my back! It's like a tight cage, Madeline!
And later that day, during a fierce summer gale, Charlotte Rose was brought to the royal court of Versailles. Madame du Montespan, the maid of honor, was on hand to greet them underneath the palace's imposing gilded gate, with its awe-inspiring golden sun.
Madame, may I present to you the Mademoiselle Charlotte Rose?
Très ordinaire.
Yes, but I think that you will find that the Mademoiselle is a quick learner.
Bon.
Charlotte Rose was whisked through a hall of mirrors, her flustered expression reflected back at her an endless number of times. Then, the smells of orange blossoms filled her nostrils. Bright silks and ribbons flooded her eyes. Curious whispers and mocking laughter followed her every step. At last, she was brought to an abrupt halt at what she was told would be her chambers.
Charlotte Rose, you must never ever sit in front of the Prince, King, Queen, or indeed any of the royal family. Charlotte Rose, you are well versed on the subject of etiquette.
Yes!
Then you will know you must never knock at a door. Rather, you must scratch at it with the nail of your little finger.
And we never bathe Queen Marie-Therese in anything other than the very finest of French spirits.
And if you should see the servants walking along the corridor bringing the king's dinner, you must curtsy right to the very ground as if it were the king himself.
Oh!
And not the king's dinner!
We never look at the Sundays like we do, we, Charlotte Rose. No, we most certainly do not look the king directly in the eyes.
We laugh, never yawn at the antics of the Queen's dwarfs.
We must be intelligent, but never smart.
Witty, but never droll. You must say yes when you mean no, and no when you mean yes. Now let us see your currency.
They agreed it needed improvement.
It needs improvement.
They warned her of one final rule.
Charlotte one final rule.
Never, never.
Never associate with
Mademoiselle Dumerot.
Finally, exhausted, Charlotte Rose was able to close the door of her chambers behind them.
Douche!
J'adore la vie!
Charlotte Rose, you are cordially invited by your darling cousin.
Mademoiselle Dumerot to her home in Paris for an enchanted affair we like to call a storytelling salon. Your presence will be graced by two of my most noted guests.
Charles Perrault, the father of the Mother Goose fairy tales.
And
Madame d'Aulnoy, renowned for her exquisite intelligence and impeccable stories.
we meet at midnight, and you will be the main event.
The clock on Mademoiselle Dumerot's fireplace struck 12 as Charlotte Rose entered the room. In it, she beheld the most eccentric poets, philosophers, and tale-tellers all nibbling on larks' tongues and sipping on gooseberry cordials. In the center of it all stood her Brittany Bourne, rags to riches cousin, dressed outrageously in an elaborate peasant's costume.
Charles, do throw me a prompt. Oh, thank you, Charles. Rah! The princess growled into her mirror, inspecting her newly acquired bear suit, given to her by her maid Coriander. She looked terrifying. The princess fled from the palace into the deep, dark woods. She ran and she ran and she ran and she ran until, exhausted, she fell asleep in the hollow of a tree. The next morning, she awoke as the sun rose hot in the sky to discover that, frankly, she was hopelessly stuck in her bear suit. Oh. And in that moment, she looked up and over the rise of the hill, and the king's horsemen were storming towards her in a hunting party. She stood stock still, barely daring to breathe. The king drew near her on his horse, looked her in the eyes, and in that moment, he saw her kindness, and instead of roasting her for the banquet that evening, he decided to take her back and keep her as his pet. But the princess was frightened that the king would never love her because of her ugliness. But that, my friends, is not the end of my tale.
Oh, and the moral of that story is, no matter how stuck you are in a bear costume, a king will come to your rescue.
Thank you, Charles. Now, dear friends, we have a treat this evening. My darling cousin, Mademoiselle Charlotte Rose, has come to conjure a tale. Come, my love.
C'est vrai.
My dear Mademoiselle Dumerot, do throw the girl a prompt.
Yes, close your eyes. Open your hands. My dove, tell the tale You were born to tell.
Born to tell?
Born to tell.
Born to tell. Born to tell.
Once upon a time, in a tiny hovel at the edge of the forest, lived a mother who loved her baby daughter very much, but she couldn't keep her. So, one night, the mother gathered her baby daughter in her arms, crept over to her neighbor's doorstep, and laid her child down upon the stoop. The mother then took a goose feather quill, wrote a name on some parchment, and placed it gently by her baby. And then, after kissing her baby daughter on her forehead, she fled. Summer turned to autumn, and autumn turned to winter, and spring turned back to summer again. 5, 10, 21 summers passed, and all the while, Mademoiselle de Magade's salon grew, until the whole of Parisian society wore crumb within her parlor, spellbound by Charlotte Rose's tale.
Fear caught into the young maiden's throat, but her longing for another was greater than her fear. The handsome prince plucked a small, tender kiss from the corner of her mouth and vowed to return. The young maiden was stunned, but eagerly awaited him. And day after day the prince came to visit, and day after day their love grew into a wonderful, passionate, and terrifying love. But that, my friends, is not the end of my tale. At court, I spent the days grooming Queen Marie-Thérèse's smelly little dogs. But at night, I would slip away to the salons, where I met wise and witty women, most of them writers, and my secret ambition to write burst into bloom. My spirit soared. I was launched into salon society. Now, Charlotte Rose had been to the theater many times before, but not quite like the Palais Royal. 6 tinkling chandeliers, each holding aloft 6 tall candles, illuminated the stage. The curtains were dragged back, and a roar went up from Molière's The Learned Ladies.
This is no attempt at wit, madame. It is the avowal of what my heart feels. Heaven has bound me to the beauty of Henriette by the ties of an unchangeable love. Henriette holds me in her lovely chains, and to marry Henriette is the end of all my hopes.
What a profound performance. Tell me, my dear, who is that young actor?
Shh! That is Charles Dubrieux. Look up and over there. You see the lady in the box, fanning herself, looking everywhere but the stage. That is Madame Dubrieux, Charles's mother. See the empty space next to her? That vacant seat belongs to the Baron Dubrieux. The Baron is the president of the Treasury Courts, and, by all accounts, he's not a man to be crossed. Be careful, my dove. Charles is 24, and still legally under his father's dominion.
Oh, so magnifique!
The foyer of the theater was filled with aspirant actors and actresses in the very throes of histrionics. Weeping, sighing, groaning, and throwing themselves about, each desperate to catch the attentions of Molière. Where is that delicious young man from the play?
Follow my eyes, my dove. You see that rabble of gaudily dressed stage actors still in their stage maquillage? Look a little to the left. You see the claret velvet coat, the foaming lace, the smooth olive skin, and the strong jaw. And voila!
I furled my fan and lifted it to tap just gently under my right eye. Then I glanced to see if Charles Dubrieux was paying attention. He was. Our eyes met for a single long charged glance. I was aware of the quickening of my blood. He pressed his hand to his chest, pretending I had shot an arrow straight through his heart. My pulse
I unfurled my fan and ran my fingertips tenderly over its edge. The next moment, he was by my side, bowing over my hand.
I am Charles de Brienne.
And I am Mademoiselle Charlotte Rose de la Force.
It is the greatest pleasure to meet you.
Is that? Oh, why, I do believe it is. You must excuse me, my dears.
Male.
I must congratulate you on a wonderful performance. It was unusually heartfelt.
Charles had never been complimented on his acting before.
Thank you, mademoiselle. I'm rather new to the company. Although I do have other talents.
I'm sure you do.
I meant dancing. Do you like to dance?
The next moment, he had embraced my hand in his and began leading me in a gavotte.
I love to dance with a woman who moves so well.
And I love to dance with a man who doesn't trample all over my feet.
You certainly seem like an experienced dancer.
And you, sir, certainly seem an experienced flirt.
Your eyes, their light pierces my heart.
You exaggerate, sir. You are a trifler.
Not at all. I mean every word. You have captured my inmost soul. They say you've had many lovers, including an acrobat and a lion tamer.
Well, now that, sir, is an exaggeration.
And in that moment, the two realized that they had been struck by a wonderful, passionate, and terrifying love.
My heart pounded with fear as much as with desire. What was I doing entering into an affair like this? He was a boy of 24, and I was a woman of 38. It was our passion for words that drew us together. Charlotte Rose heard the slam of the coach door. Then a whip cracked, and 6 horses heaved the coach forward, breaking into a gallop. Charles!
Did you think that I had no eyes or ears within this court? Then why do you proceed to embarrass the Dubrionnais? I was lenient with your playing at dress-up, but this...
It was never my intention.
Let's tally up the facts, shall we? First, she's a Huguenot.
Father.
That's a negative. Second, she's 38 and you are 24. That's 14 years negative. Third, this spinster of yours has no dowry. That's 5,000 louis negative. I've yet to see any positives.
What about love? I love her.
Oh. You love her? That's another negative.
In 10 days' time, I will come of age, and I shall do as I wish.
Well, we shall see about that. You will be confined to your chamber, under lock and key, until I can clean up your mess.
Charles, held captive by the Baron, Charlotte Rose's tail was torn from its binding. Yet, she wasn't completely alone. Dear Charles Perrault, the Baron Dubrieux cordially invites you to celebrate the engagement of Charles to Mademoiselle Vivienne Lepont at the Chateau Dubrieux-Souvier.
No, this is a tragedy. We love each other. I'm going to pack for Sevilliers tout de suite.
You think for a moment that they'll allow you inside? That stubborn old goat will have you thrown into the moat. You're not the first to be forced to give each other up. I'm afraid it's a worn-out tale.
And I refuse to allow it to be the end of our tale. My dear cousin, you and I possess 2 of the most inventive minds in all of Paris. Surely, we too can conjure some plan. Now let's think. Once upon a time, there was a cruel Baron who held a handsome prince captive in a tower, separated from his one true love. Now, my dear, throw me a pot.
heart of the darkest forest, underneath the summer Souvier moon, sat the Chateau de Brieux. Outside, all was quiet, save for the sound of gravel underfoot and the soft chamber music hanging in the air. But inside the chateau's grand hall, 40 footmen stood stiffly, carrying silver trays laden with sautéed scallops and salt cod. Men and women alike wore full-bodied wigs, totteringly high heels, and hats flouncing with feathers. And at the head of it all sat Charles, with his 12-year-old betrothed, Vivian Le Pont.
I noticed.
Excuse me.
Vivian! Give your proud mother a kiss!
Andale, Bernardita. Andale. Signor, I am Orsanti the showman. I come bringing entertainment for the party with my dancing bear, Bernardita. Ha.
Eh bien, no, hombre. No, I'm afraid there's no Orsanti the showman on the guest list, monsieur.
Un momento, signor. Andale, Bernardita. Andale. Yeah.
I'm giggling.
Je me bois.
I'm laughing uncontrollably.
C'est énorme.
That's extraordinarily funny. That's so funny I peed, but just a little bit.
Bravo!
Muchas gracias, señor.
Chateau, monsieur! Chateau! Entrez, s'il vous plaît!
Gracias, señor. ¿Dónde está Charles Dubrion?
He dashed up the stairs. What do you want me to go?
Gracias. Ándale, Bernardita. Ándale. Yo.
Elle est trop drôle.
Prepare yourself to dash up the stair. Buenas noches. The coast is clear. Run, my dove.
Charles, I'm coming!
We have an unwanted guest.
Is she on your list?
No.
Go!
Meanwhile, above the melee and alone in his room, Charles wallowed in melancholy.
If for a while I defied the power of love, he takes now full vengeance. If you but knew what sufferings are torturing my heart, even you would wish that I had never loved, for see where my destiny leads.
Until...
Oh, mon Dieu!
It's me, Charles Rose.
What are you doing here?
Will you marry me?
Marry you? Yes. How?
We elope.
Where?
Now.
Where?
Paris!
Charles and Charlotte Rose clambered out of the chamber window, then raised hand over fist down the ivy-kissed wall.
Everything's been arranged. I persuaded the Queen to persuade the King to grant us permission to marry. Then we will head to my dear cousin Mademoiselle de Murat's house in Paris. She has agreed to hide us until you are of age. Then we will wed the Église sans supplice, race back to Versailles, and then present ourselves to the King. But we will ask for his forgiveness for marrying without notifying him first.
Wait! The king will be furious.
Oh, no, he won't. I'm highly in the King's favor at the moment. I've decided to embrace the one true faith.
You've abjured.
Yes, but the king has offered me a pension as a reward.
But you'll dishonor your family name.
Yes. But it's worth it to be with you.
Dodging drunken guests and ducking under carriages, they dashed towards the forest, desperately seeking their freedom.
They found themselves in a clearing in the deepest part of the woods.
I'm afraid I'm hopelessly stuck.
You can use your imagination to what followed next. The next morning, the two lovers raced the sun towards Paris to wed. Charlotte Rose and Charles spent 10 blissful days in their honeymoon suite.
Once upon a time,
There was a lovely maiden with flowing copper red hair.
Madame Charlotte Rose de Brionne, and her young and deliciously handsome
10 blissful days, falling asleep in her husband's arms, and then waking to his kiss.
They would lie together every morning.
weaving the story of their future together.
The two children that they would share,
Twins.
a boy
And a girl.
who mirrored their mother with fox red ringlets and crystal blue eyes.
But that was not to be the end of our tale.
For the Baron de Brionne took Charlotte Rose to court and contrived to have their marriage dissolved.
This strumpet has seduced a minor and married him without his Royal Majesty's consent.
I am of age. I can marry any woman I choose.
But it didn't do any good.
I will be with the woman I love. Charlotte Rose!
They took Charles to an insane for the insane. I would never see him again. Then Nicolas de Régny entered the court, and my stomach twisted. He was the king's chief of police.
Found within Charles de Brionne's bedchamber, 1 bag of spells, 2 toad's legs wrapped up in a bat's wing. I accuse this woman of being a sorceress, a succubus, and a dabbler in the dark arts.
These were serious accusations. Nicolas de Régny had arrested and tortured 442 courtiers, all on the suspicion of witchcraft. 34 were burned at the stake, including Madame Montespan, the maid of honor. All Versailles could talk of was
Poison!
And-
Treason!
and
Satanic rite!
and
Sorcery!
Why else would Charles de Brionne have married an old spinstress?
the king offered me a choice. I was family after all. Exile and poverty, or the convent and a pension. What was I to do? But I knew I had made the devil's bargain with the king. For like my poor mother, once a woman was ordered inside of a convent, she stayed inside.
Welcome to the Abbey of Bercy-en-Brie, Mademoiselle de la Force. I'm the Reverend Mother Maribesse. This is our Mistress of Noises, Mère Brioux. Our librarian, Mère Scolastique. went off most unwillingly.
No postulant had ever been more unwilling, but it was treason to defy the king. Yes, Meredith.
Very well. You must swear to obey the rule of this house, to be obedient and faithful, and to seek humility in all things. To help you carry out the will of God, you will be given a new name. So you will attain. We hope you will live up to it. Your instruction as a novitiate begins immediately.
Sir Juliet, Sir Marion, Sir Clara. You must give up every item of clothing, right down to the last stitch.
Oh, your hands are cold. Have a care for the dress.
We have
Do you know how much that cost?
We have no need for such wanton luxury here. Here, we've given you a postulant's robe.
No, my writing box is in there, and my goose feather quill.
You have no need for such things.
But I must write the king. And what about my stories? I must write my stories.
Stories? You think you may waste your time here on such frivolous things? Think again, Sir Humilité.
Sir Bertha and I will keep your writing box and your trunk safe for you in the library storeroom.
Today is the first day that the earth has been warm enough for turning. The garden beds must be hoed, the compost turned, the bees unswaddled, and the first seeds sown.
Under Mayor Jardinier's supervision, you shall work towards God's greater glory in the dirt.
Mayor Pierre grabbed a pair of shears and chopped off all of my hair in a few quick, decisive snaps.
All postulants must have their hair chopped in order to keep it free from lice.
No, not my hair. You didn't say. No one warned me. My hair bristled against my palm. I would never make love again, or dance, or smile as I made an entire salon laugh and applaud at one of my stories. I would never be kissed again, or have children of my own. I had loved, and I had been loved, but in the end I lost it all.
I know you find your banishment from court hard, Sir Humilité, but believe me, this is not a true prison. There is music and singing, which is a balm to the soul. You can come out here to the garden and see the sky and listen to the bees humming in the flowers. You can work with your own two hands and see things that you have planted grow and bring beauty to the world. And you are not alone. You are never alone. Now, the danger of frost is past. We can begin planting the first seeds. Parsley and forage and thyme. Let us do the thyme first. Thyme takes the longest to germinate. Watch me. You have a go now? Oh, no. out of the air.
Oh, no, they would select a prompt from the large wooden chest, and then, inspired by the prompt, another teller would conjure their tale.
But just out of thin air.
Yes.
Remarkable. Let us do it. What? Conjure a tale.
When now?
Yes, I can't resist, but keep one eye open for Merveilleux. What do I do?
Close your eyes and reach in the
Oh, this is fun. Oh. Percinet.
Parsley.
Nothing?
Once upon a time, there was a tiny wooden hovel.
Oh my goodness, what's happening?
A tiny wooden hovel on the edge of an endless forest. The hovel was barely big enough for one mother, one father, and 6 children. But one morning, the mother awoke to discover she had a 7th child growing inside of her. So she rushed to the window for a breath of fresh air, and brushing her copper-red hair from her face, she looked out over to a neighbor's garden, where she saw a patch of fresh green parsley growing in the farthest corner. The mother craved the parsley so badly, but she couldn't tell her husband why. So she waited until the next day when her husband had left to go and find work. And when she was sure that he was gone, she raced to her neighbor's house, where the gate lay invitingly open. She ran across, grabbed a few fresh green sprigs, and then ran home to her children. She grabbed the special book that her mother had given her, flipped to the page that she needed, and began to work. With 6 children tugging and pulling at her skirts, she boiled the parsley, added a pinch of pepper, a pinch of salt, and a pinch of sugar. And she let the potion simmer until nightfall. After she had sung all of her children to sleep, and after her husband's snores filled the entire house, she sat next to the window, overlooking her neighbor's garden, sipping the potion hot.
Sa Humilité's stories spread to the Abbey kitchens.
So, the mother waited, and by the 3rd sunset she knew there had been no change. She looked down at the dirty faces of her 6 children, at the empty tummies rising and falling in their slumber, and she knew what she had to do. So, the next morning, she ran to a neighbor's garden, grabbed a bundle of green parsley leaves in her hand, and turned to flee, when all of a sudden, she felt a hand upon her shoulder. Turning, the mother's eyes met a sorceress with skin as white as snow and green eyes the color of parsley. A warm, enchanted wind wrapped around the two as the sorceress took hold of her hands. What are you doing?
Sir Clara, Sir Juliet!
Merveilleux.
You shall scrub the lavatorium floor until it gleams.
Yes, Merveilleux.
So the two made an agreement that when the child was born, the sorceress would take the babe and care for her. The forest shed its coat 12 times, and the child grew into a beautiful young maiden with flowing copper-red hair. The sorceress named the child Percinet after the parsley. One day, Percinet was dancing in the garden when, much to her surprise, she spotted 3 young boys peering eagerly over the garden gate. In a fit of curiosity and excitement, Percinet dashed out to greet them.
the sorceress, returning from her business at the far edge of the forest, suddenly beheld Percinet surrounded by bold young boys. Her green eyes turned to steel. She conjured up an icy cold wind that knocked the boys off their feet, swished them all the way back to their village, and landed each one of them with a thump in front of his own front door.
And then it spread to the library.
The sorceress confines Percinet to an enormous tree tower. Then what happens?
Every evening, the sorceress visits Percinet
In her tree tower?
in her tree tower, and she brushes and binds and braids Percinet's flowing copper red hair. Although Percinet is confined within her tree tower, she has everything she could ever wish for.
Then how can she be unhappy there?
Because her heart is filled with loneliness. What is out there? Who is out there beyond the edge of this forest?
Day by day, the prince clambers up Percinet's hair in order to visit her in her tree tower.
And day by day, their love grows into a wonderful, passionate, and terrifying love. So one day, the sorceress was braiding Percinet's hair. Then Percinet put her hand on her belly and asked, "Mother, what's growing inside of me?" Tears prickled the sorceress's green eyes. How could you let this happen?
Oh, sorry, Millie, does Percinet tell the sorceress about her encounters with the prince?
Yes, Sir Marion, she does. And at once the sorceress grabs her daughter's copper red hair, grabs a pair of shears, and chops off all the hair in a few quick, decisive snaps. Holding the hair in one hand and spouting out spells with the other, she banished her weeping daughter to a distant snowy wasteland, a speck of red in a vast plain of white.
But what about the prince?
The sorceress tricks the prince into climbing up Percinet's hair. Then the sorceress lets go, the prince falls, and the long, sharp thorns of the briary roses pierce his eyes, blinding him.
Oh no! The autumn leaves on the trees in the convent garden fell. 5, 10, 20 times. And each year the convent salon grew. Yet, the tale that the sisters craved most from Sœur Humilité was the story of Percinet.
One night, Percinet was overcome with pouring pain, and she crumpled into the snow. In the distance, a blind beggar wandering the icy wasteland heard the sound of baby's cries. His heart pounded loudly in his chest. Percinet, it's my Percinet. Percinet looked up and saw a familiar silhouette lit by the moonlight. It was her prince. Gathering up the two tiny red-haired bundles in her arms, she ran unsteadily towards him. Overwhelmed with joy, she cried hot tears of pepper, salt, and sugar. As each tear fell on the prince's eyes, his darkness became soft mist, and the soft mist became crystal blue eyes of a baby boy and a baby girl. Ah! That's lovely! The sorceress, who had always been watching Percinet, looked deep inside herself. She realized that there was a time for holding on and a time for letting go. She closed her green eyes and conjured up a warm, enchanted wind that wrapped around the little family like a blanket. The landscape was filled with colors and dreams and visions as the tall tree of a lush green wood sprang up and out around them. And there they lived, in a cozy hall, just big enough for one mother, one father, and 2 children.
so I'll cut straight to the point. This morning, we received a letter from Versailles. The king, for reasons unknown, has granted you your freedom. Now, you're more than welcome to stay with us and complete your vows if you so choose.
Thank you, Mayoress. But I wish to start a new chapter of my life.
I had a feeling that would be your answer. You remember the wooden chest you brought here on the first day you arrived here?
Oh. Open it up. Look inside.
Oh. They are my tales. They are each of my tales.
Mère Scolastique transcribed them all.
Oh, not all. Sir Bertha helped me when my hand got tired.
But Mère Scolastique had the best of them, Manchu.
We, each of us, played our part. Your tales have brought much beauty to our world.
I'm speechless. I'll treasure it forever.
The bells chimed, urging the nuns to vespers.
It's been a great privilege. Mademoiselle Charlotte Rose de la Force.
At the age of 64, Mademoiselle Charlotte Rose de la Force published a book created in the convent under the pseudonym Madame X. The book became one of the world's first fairy tale collections. Personette later evolved into the tale of Rapunzel.
Now, friends, sip gooseberry cordials, nibble lark's tongue, and join us again, do, when we'll conjure up a warm, enchanted wind that will carry us across space and through time into the ebony-black, snow-drifted forests of Germany.
This, my friends, is not the end of my tale.